President Trump, Vice President Vance, Secretary of War Hegseth, and VA Secretary Collins. This is Sergeant Kevin Lee Lloyd, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines, Fox Company out of Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. He was poisoned by the burn pits, and he's dying of stage 4 colorectal cancer, cancer that is 100% service-connected, an instrumentality of war by the Department of Defense's own definition. And yet the Marine Corps has not corrected his records. He is still listed as medically separated, not medically retired, despite multiple combat deployments, despite the burn pit exposures, despite this being a combat-related injury. They have denied him and our children the recognition and the benefits that he earned with his life. He is dying because he breathed in what our government burned: batteries, plastics, paint, chemicals, human remains, all of it. He was ordered into the pit by a superior officer. He was surrounded by poison. And now that poison is in his brain, his liver, his lungs, his bones, his lymph nodes. And now, with everything on the line, this country, the country that he served, is refusing to bring him home. Please, I am begging you. Don't let him die in a hospital bed, staring out the window at the place that said no to saving his life. Let him come home. Let him be with his children. Let him take this last chance at the clinical trial. Approve the private duty nursing. Get the VA to value the life of a United States Marine more than $1. We are displaced hours away from our home just to be near the only hospital willing to fight for him. I've had to hire a live-in nanny to care for our children because I can't be in 2 places at once. I've had to leave my own nursing career behind to care for Kevin, my ex-husband, because before this admission, he was homeless and now he's dying. Our family is breaking under the weight of this. I'm one person trying to hold everything together while the system that promised to protect him continues to fail him. Sergeant Lloyd served 9 years in the Marine Corps with 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines. He would have been a career Marine. There was never a doubt. He deployed 4 times, 3 to the Middle East, and he was poisoned by toxic burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan. He didn't just breathe in the fumes. He was ordered into the pits because the cooks didn't sort the soda cans out, and soda cans don't burn. It was a cesspool of poison. Despite 3 deployments and 3 confirmed exposures, Sergeant Lloyd was never placed on the burn pit registry. This process is supposed to be automatic. Boots on the ground during certain times in certain locations should have been enough, but it wasn't. Not once, and definitely not 3 times. In 2015, he began experiencing rectal bleeding, abdominal pain, and migraines. He begged for a colonoscopy. The Marine Corps denied it. They said he was too young. Instead, they separated him medically, not retired, and stamped him with myofascial pain syndrome and hemorrhoids. But he didn't have hemorrhoids, he had cancer, neurotoxicity from the pits, and a tumor in his rectum. Had they done a colonoscopy in 2015, they would have caught it, but they didn't, and now he's dying. In 2023, he was diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer. 100% service-connected. The VA admits this. The Marine Corps admits this. The cancer is a result of his deployments, but he was never medically retired. His DD-149 correction package to fix this was filed over 2 years ago and lost. The Marine Corps acknowledged losing it and sent a Marine on assignment 5 weeks ago to rebuild it. It now sits with the Board of Naval Corrections, who told us it would be 12 to 18 months to process. He doesn't have 12 to 18 months. Because he was poisoned and not shot, he's been abandoned. His son has type 1 diabetes and uses an insulin pump that costs over $1,000 a month. We have no family history of type 1 diabetes. That child was conceived right after Sergeant Lloyd was poisoned. If Kevin had been medically retired, our children would have benefits, but they don't. We've received nothing. By December of 2023, the VA determined that Kevin's cancer was too aggressive for them to treat, so they placed him on community care, on their own letterhead, and still they denied him the care he needed. In September of 2024, he was referred to a neurosurgeon due to neurological symptoms. Denied. October of 2024, he was referred to a lymphedema specialist. denied. Both referrals could have identified the cancer spreading to his brain, but they were denied. He began going blind in June of 2025. On June 23rd of 2025, he was admitted to St. Luke's Hospital. On the 27th, MD Anderson accepted him for transfer, but the VA's chief of radiation oncology blocked it, even though his neurosurgeon recommended proton beam therapy to knock out the brain tumor in one session. The VA decided he only deserved palliative whole brain radiation. We were told that if we agreed to make the transfer to the VA hospital, it would be temporary, just a few days, a stopover for diagnostic tests, but instead they trapped him there for over a month. He was placed on a heparin drip. While on that drip, a nurse insisted on taking him to the emergency room because she said that visitors weren't allowed upstairs. Once he was in the emergency room, he was separated from his advocate and he sustained a gastrointestinal hemorrhage. We were never informed that he was unstable. Later, they told him to remain NPO for a transthoracic echocardiogram, a TTE, he fasted for 8 hours. But instead of a heart scan, he was wheeled to radiation oncology alone to be pressured into signing consents for whole brain radiation he'd already refused, radiation he'd never consented to. He was isolated, sick, and confused, and they tried to force his signature. I filed 2 complaints with the VA hotline and 1 with the Office of the Inspector General's office. We were retaliated against. The chief of radiation oncology at the Houston VA showed up in Kevin's room holding a printed copy of my confidential report and told me that he was very upset that I had made a complaint about him with the White House. Nursing leadership also confronted me. The Office of the Inspector General's office declined to investigate. On July 4th, a CT scan revealed spinal instability. A TLSO brace was ordered on the 6th, but it was never provided. His unstable spine went a full month without support. It wasn't until he was transferred to MD Anderson that he received the brace, and even then the VA continued to interfere. While he was inpatient at MD Anderson, they refused to pay for his chemotherapy. They stalled his treatment for 5 days so that they could procure the drugs themselves. Not because it was better, because it was cheaper. They valued $30,341 more than a Marine's life. When Kevin arrived at MD Anderson, they ordered an emergency MRI, one that the VA's own radiologist had recommended 10 days prior, after his PET scan was completed. But they would never review the PET scan with me. I could see on the report there was likely spinal cord compression. They ignored me. After 79 days inpatient, he was discharged home with orders for physical therapy, occupational therapy, home health nursing, and a home health aide. But none of it came. He only received 2 sessions of physical therapy. There was no occupational therapy, no home health aide. Despite the VA's knowledge of his complex care and progressing condition, they set him up for failure. He was only home with his children for 12 days before he had to be rushed back to the hospital. Because he did not receive his in-home services, he developed blood clots to his right leg that spread to both of his lungs. He went into respiratory distress. He had a 22-minute seizure. And because the VA refused to install the stair lift that was recommended by their own staff after they did an assessment, he perforated his rectum. He just had emergency surgery several days ago. Sergeant Lloyd is fighting for his life because the system set him up to fail. The very system that was supposed to care for him has done nothing but neglect, abandon, and endanger him. And still he fights. Because his mission is to ensure that this never happens to another veteran and their family. Today, Sergeant Lloyd is on oxygen 24/7 because of the pulmonary embolisms. His oxygen levels plummet while he sleeps. He has a colostomy bag. He may have to have a nephrostomy tube placed because the tumors are causing water on his kidneys. He's on IV antibiotics. He's traumatized from the Guantanamo Bay level care that he received at the Houston VA, but he's still fighting. There's one clinical trial left that could save his life, but to qualify, he must be outpatient. To bring him home, I have to essentially move the hospital into our house. He needs 24/7 private duty nursing, not just home health visits. He's visually impaired. He's on oxygen. He has a colostomy. He's likely going to have a nephrostomy tube placed soon. He requires IV antibiotics, help with mobility, assistance with his colostomy and wound care, administration of medications, monitoring for any changes in his condition. These are clinical decisions. He needs assistance with his mobility. He cannot be left alone. This is not occasional care. This is total, ongoing clinical oversight. We will not allow him to fall through the cracks again. MD Anderson submitted the order for private duty nursing over a week ago. The VA told us that a doctor would discuss the private duty nursing request with his surgeon at MD Anderson. There's nothing to discuss. This isn't a preference, it's a medical necessity. His care is too complex to manage without 24/7 nursing. He needs medication management, wound care, infection monitoring. He cannot be in the care of someone who is not clinically trained. We're not just bringing Sergeant Lloyd home. We have to move the hospital to our home so that he can participate with the clinical trial. And we cannot do that without private duty nurses. Those orders were put in last week, Wednesday. He's being held in the hospital until there is a safe discharge, meaning that he cannot go home to be with his children. He can't be failed again. Because Kevin was poisoned and not shot, the Marine Corps has denied him the recognition and support that is typically extended to families of the combat wounded. Despite this being a combat-related injury and meeting the Department of Defense's own definition of an instrumentality of war, the failure to correct his military records means that we do not qualify for a Casualty Assistance Calls Officer, a CACO. That means I, one person, am left trying to coordinate all of his complex medical care, manage every aspect of his VA claims and appeals, and get his end-of-life affairs in order, all while raising our children because we're on borrowed time. I've had to Google how to have him buried in a national cemetery because no one is helping us. Please, don't let him die in the dark. Correct his records. Approve his nursing. Let him come home. This is Sergeant Kevin Lloyd, and this is what the VA has done to him.